NFL Live is presented by KFC.
We begin on this Tuesday with our timeline. Chiefs reporter, but first, actually, according to our Adam Schefter, USC offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury is planning to interview today for the Cardinals. They have a head coaching job available. And at 12:49 Eastern, our Chiefs reporter Adam Teicher says wide receiver Sammy Watkins and safety Eric Berry will return to practice today with the Chiefs. That could be a big boost for Kansas City as they get set for the Colts. We're glad to have you with us. Hello, everybody, on this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Wendy Nix with Field Yates, Tim Hasselbeck, and Coach John Fox. It does look like the Green Bay Packers are the first team to strike. They have landed what appears to be their new head coach. They're set to hire Matt Lafleur as the new head man. He spent the past season as the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator. He previously worked under Sean McVay for the Los Angeles Rams and Kyle Shanahan with the Atlanta Falcons. For more on this, we will say hello to our Packers reporter, Rob Dumoski, who's in a balmy Green Bay this afternoon, about 40 degrees. And Rob, Lafleur flew under the radar just a bit in the Packers search for a new head coach. How did this get done?
Well, Wendy, no coat needed for Matt Lafleur when he arrives in Green Bay later tonight and is introduced here at Lambeau tomorrow. It's beautiful. This is what it should be like right now for football. No, really, Wendy, here's the thing. We started to hear last week Matt LaFleur's name mentioned more and more. We knew that they wanted someone with a strong offensive background. That led us to Josh McDaniels, who was a hot candidate. But as they talked to LaFleur, it became more clear that he was the better fit for Aaron Rodgers. And look, the two hottest names in offensive coaching right now are Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. And Matt LaFleur worked with both of them. How many guys around the league can you say were tutored under both of those guys? The Packers saw a little bit of LaFleur firsthand when they played the Falcons in 2016. Remember, that was Matt Ryan's MVP year. And that year in the NFC Championship game, Matt Ryan rolled over the Packers 44-21 in the Georgia Dome on their way to the Super Bowl. Matt LaFleur has been on their radar ever since. And now Matt LaFleur will be the next guy patrolling the sidelines and working with Aaron Rodgers. As one source told me, getting the coach and the quarterback on the same page was the number one priority here in Green Bay.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Thank you, Rob. We will see you again tomorrow, of course, when LaFleur is expected to be introduced. Let's look at his most recent stops. He served as the quarterback's coach for the Falcons while Kyle Shanahan was the OC. Atlanta reached the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan was the MVP. LaFleur then took his talents to the West Coast. He was the OC under Sean McVay, and in that time, LA became the second team in NFL history to go from worst to first in scoring offense, joining the 65 49ers. And then this year, LaFleur joined first-year head coach Mike Vrabel in Tennessee as the team's offensive coordinator and play caller. The Titans fell just short of a playoff berth for the second straight year, losing a win-and-you're-in game to the Colts in the season finale. Now, during LaFleur's stint with the Rams, Sean McVay did the team's play calling, and LA was one of the most productive offensive units in the league. The Titans had a lackluster offense this season, but keep in mind, Mike McCarthy was the OC for a 49ers team that ranked 30th in scoring offense the year before he left for Green Bay, and things turned out just fine. I don't think there's any coincidence that LaFleur has worked and had success with two quarterbacks by the name of Matt Ryan and Jared Goff, and that the number one priority for this team, Coach, was to find somebody to work with its quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, let's not forget, it's about players, not plays. Everybody's a copycat in this league. Everybody copies plays, but it's the players you're involved with. And really, when it gets right down to it, is the personality and how he portrayed himself in the interview process. Forget about what agents are saying on the outside, all the insiders. It really still is going to be a one-on-one relationship with who he's going to be with that in that building every day, including that quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
You know, we've seen a younger head coach with established quarterback. Jared Goff, not established, but a younger quarterback. That worked. Dick Cutter didn't work as well. So this could go either way, Tim, but clearly they think this is somebody who can get on the same page with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, getting on the same page with Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be difficult. I mean, the reality is that he's a really good player, and, you know, Matt Lafleur is going to come in and install an offense, quite honestly, that's a tried and true offense. You know, to Coach's point about being a copycat league, like, people aren't, like, he's not coming there and running plays that people haven't seen before in the NFL. He's going to come in and run plays that have existed in the NFL for a long time. And so if you look at, it's kind of the tree from Mike Shanahan to Gary Kubiak to Kyle Shanahan to Sean McVay, that style of offense, okay, that is basically the origin of what will be the basis for what Matt Lafleur does on offense. Aaron Rodgers can fit that well, just like he can fit a lot of systems well. I don't think the quarterback play is really your issue in Green Bay. I think the bigger issue is, okay, you're this young offensive coach. Who's your defensive coordinator? Like, guess what? Part of the deal with Matt Nagy, in Chicago, or Sean McVay with the Rams, is they have Wade Phillips and Vic Fangio. Like, I think that's probably as big of a deal as who the offensive guy is.
Well, I would agree with you that the play of the quarterback wasn't the situation, but the personality, I think, did factor into it. But I agree. He's got to get some guys who know the other side of the football.
And it seems like all indications are that he's going to retain much of his staff, led by Mike Pettin, who did a nice job as their defensive coordinator this season in terms of developing some of the players in the front seven and finding some reparations in the back end, which really doomed them during the 2017 season. I think part of the reason why this hire has been met with surprise is that it's the first vacancy filled, and it's by a coach who really was only connected to the Green Bay Packer job. Matt Lafleur was not the spicy name of this head coaching carousel right now. There were others like Matt Eberflus of the Colts, Cliff Kingsbury, who are scheduled to interview with multiple teams, and people sort of just assume, okay, those will be the first dominoes that fall, and instead it's Matt Lafleur. And I think that what it sort of brings us back to is what Coach mentioned off the top, in that we can talk all about us in the media, who we think the top candidates are, who are the risers, who are the fallers, who has the most stock. But ultimately, when you go out there and you interview, that can be a 4, 5, 6 hour process where you are selling your entire operation to the decision makers. And in Green Bay, that specifically is Mark Murphy, the team president. And it sure feels like that connection was forged during that one interview. And here we are with Matt Lafleur, who's got a grand opportunity. Say what you will about how the Packers performed this season. If I had the opportunity to coach arguably the most talented quarterback to ever play the game, I like my odds of being successful 10 times out of 10.
For one of the most storied franchises in the league, one of the most iconic places in addition to that. Does the years as an OC, Tim, do we make too much of that? The fact that there's only 2 here concern you at all?
Well, I think it depends on what ends up happening. Like, is he going to call plays in Green Bay? I mean, you don't know if that's actually going to be the case. You said it before. Like, I think part of what happens sometimes is you look and you're like, well, wait a second. He was the offense coordinator with the Titans. Their quarterback threw 11 touchdown passes this year. Like, how is this going to work out? It is about players and not just plays. Yes, you do need to have a good, sound scheme. But I think, and you said this off air about the other things you deal with as a head coach rather than being the scientist that's designing plays. And the truth of the matter is that's probably the bigger issue I think you're dealing with when you hire a younger coach. You're hiring a guy that you are hoping is going to relate better to your players, I think, when you do that. And so, but with that, you also deal with a lot of problems. Like, players get into trouble. Players make mistakes. There's other things that happen, and how the coach, is he mature enough to handle those things the right way and have the discussions that need to be had that way?
What's the biggest challenge, Coach, of becoming the CEO, if you will, rather than just, the mad scientist or the guy who's calling plays? When you're in charge of the whole operation, what's the steepest part of the learning curve?
It is about people skills. And you can be in a dark room and design, game plans on offense, defense, special teams, or even for the GM, hiring GMs, the same thing. You're in there studying and evaluating players. Well, when you become a GM and you become a head coach, all right, you control the emotion and the attitude and everything in that building. The minute you walk in the door, everybody's looking at you, and you're in charge of that. And that's through good times and bad times, and that's not an easy thing to do. As far as the experience, I don't put a lot of stock in it. I had Jack Del Rio. He was a linebacker coach for the Ravens. Hired him as my defensive coordinator in Carolina my first year as a head coach. And the very first year, we took a defense that was 31st. There was only 31 teams, and really went to second in the league in one season. And Jack got the head job in Jacksonville, where he had a pretty substantial, long career and very, very much success there. So, I don't think it's so much about experience. There's a lot of qualified people, and I think the people skills and managing of people is the biggest attribute for a head coach.
It certainly makes sense. And Phil, let's talk about some of these qualified people, because now there are 7, right? We had 8. Matt Lafleur expected to be introduced tomorrow, so 7 jobs available. Who's out there?
Yeah, well, we certainly know that one of the two sides that are sort of gaining a lot of traction right now, Bruce Arians, the former Arizona Cardinals head coach who has retired in the same way that kind of he's on the Brett Favre retirement plan. It's retirement until something else better comes up.
Understood.
He's been connected strongly to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and obviously the match would be sensible if you want to find a coach that is capable of resurrecting Jameis Winston. And one of the more popular candidates who was nearly a head coach, heck, he was technically a head coach for a minute last year, was Josh McDaniels of the Patriots, who actually said earlier on today that he is going to stay in New England for 2019, essentially withdrawing his name from any more interviews that he may have had. He was briefly connected to not just Green Bay, but also Cincinnati. And the reality for Josh is probably this. For as long as he remains the Patriots offensive coordinator, he will be linked to head coaching jobs every offseason until he takes another head coaching job. So it is one domino down with Green Bay. I think there's a sense around the league that we could have a couple more coming very soon. And then there's going to get into the wild cards. There are going to be a few wild cards that may be, hey, our preference of candidates may not want our job most. So if he takes a different job, we're going to have to go to contingency plans, A, B, and C.
And sometimes, happy accidents. Those contingency plans work out pretty well. I think Indianapolis would argue it has.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about the games because we got another big weekend of football, shall we? A look at the divisional weekend matchups in the NFC. The 6-seed Eagles take on the Saints in the Big Easy. The Cowboys head to Hollywood to face the Rams. The Chargers head out west again to face New England on Sunday, but the weekend kicks off Saturday with the Colts and the Chiefs, and that will also mark the postseason debut for Patrick Mahomes. He played his way into the MVP conversation during the regular season. No question about that. But now the question becomes whether he can help his coach, Andy Reid, finally win his first championship and get that monkey off his back, so to speak. Here is Patrick Mahomes on the road ahead.
Yeah, every playoff game's big. We're excited.
Not just any playoff game. Beating the Colts, not winning for a long time. Do you understand the magnitude of this particular one?
Yeah. For me, it's my first playoff game. I'm excited just to be here and then at the same time get the opportunity to go out there and win games like this. When you grow up, you want to go and play games like this. When you get older, you want to be a professional athlete and you want to win on the biggest stage. And so for me, it's about going out there, and like I said, be myself, lean on my teammates, and try to go out there and win a big football game.
It's a big one, that's for sure. Wildcard weekend, they're rough so far for guys making their first playoff starts. All 3 have lost. Pat Mahomes will try to buck that trend. No quarterback has won the Super Bowl in the same postseason where he made his first NFL start since Tom Brady in 2001. Coach, you've dealt with young quarterbacks. You've dealt with veteran quarterbacks. What's the challenge here of taking Mahomes from an absolutely excellent regular season quarterback into the postseason?
Well, as you looked on the diagram there, 3 of the guys lost this past weekend. So the thing with Patrick Mahomes that I've seen all season long is him being in pressure-packed situations, on the road, last-minute drives. Just the fact that this is his first complete year as a starter is even mind-boggling as the MVP of the National Football League. So I'm sure Andy Reid is just telling him, be the same guy. Be the same guy you've been all season long. I don't think you'll have a problem with that. But it is a whole different atmosphere when you click into playoff mentality.
Be the same guy. What kind of guy was he? You likely saw it if you watched any football at all, but just in case, let's take another look. These are some of the most outstanding plays. There were so many to pick from.
How much time do we have?
We got a while. We had to pick 6, though. Week 14, Chiefs hosting the Ravens.
No look.
Mahomes and the no-look first down.
That's ridiculous. And he reenacted that for Peter King this week and showed all the elements that went into it. And just a brilliant, remarkable throw right there by Patrick Mahomes.
And again, and I can't say it enough, those who saw him play from a very young age say they have seen him do this, and he continued to do it through every level.
This is game
This is
on
the
the line
same
right
game,
here.
by the way.
And if they don't make this throw, game is over. They lose at home for what would have been their first loss at home this season. 4th and 9, moving on the run.
Under 2 minutes to play, by the way.
40 yards there.
Listen,
Tyreek Hill on the receiving
outside
end.
the numbers, he throws it to the opposite hash.
Look, you know what? I'll go this way. And it's just how they don't coach it, Coach.
No,
okay.
Coaches don't coach that.
No, coaches do not coach that. There's no question. Week 3, Chiefs and 49ers. Mahomes scrambles left, turns around, rolls right. Chris Conley, no problem. Right in the end zone.
Here's the deal. This ball gets there so fast that Richard Sherman, who's a very good player, has the opportunity to fall off the guy he's covering, and he can't get there.
His shoulder shrug?
I mean, the ball just gets there in a hurry.
This is the Chiefs on the road in LA against the Rams. It was week 11. You think he can't throw it deep? Guess what? 73-yard touchdown. And I would argue he made it look somewhat effortless.
I was going to say, that wasn't even full platform. Like, that just, step up into it. Easy, breezy.
I mean, good luck.
Patrick Mahomes.
And this, of course, is what the Colts will have to contend with. Week 4, Chiefs in Denver. This was Monday Night Football.
Got a feeling that we're going this way.
Yeah, Mahomes rolls left, switches hands, throws the pass lefty to Tyreek Hill.
Improv.
I've been impressed with his ability just as a runner and just the athleticism, because I don't know that at least I didn't see it as much in college.
Agreed. Yep.
As the style of offense they ran.
This is the Chiefs in Seattle. Again, Mahomes rolls left, turns his body. This is a side throw, if you will.
Stop it. And look at this. Look at the
I think
pliability.
Mahomes impressed himself on this one.
Like, I think his right hamstring might have been. Look at where it finishes. That's ridiculous.
Nobody else in the league can do that.
No. This is the one where he was looking at his hand like, did I really? Yeah, you did.
Yep.
You
You know what?
You did
I
just
got
do that.
Oh, all right then. Since we can't hammer it home enough, Mahomes has been an absolute playmaker when outside of the pocket. His 14 touchdown passes in that situation, 6 more than any other NFL player, and he's got 208 more passing yards than any other QB from outside the pocket. He finished 2018 with the second best QBR in the NFL on such plays. He is dynamic. If there's no other word to describe Patrick Mahomes, it is certainly that one. So, all right, Indianapolis, Tim, you're the Colts.
Ooh, yeah.
Number 1, good luck. Number 2, what do you do?
Yeah, listen, I think you have to try to trick him. You know what I mean? In terms of you need to fool him, and you need him, you bring a pressure and he throws it into a trap. Or you need to do something like that to shake him a little bit. I think that's one of the hopes that you can do. If you look at the Ravens last week, they brought a lot of pressure last week against the Houston Texans. I mean, I feel like I saw more corner pressures last week than I had seen maybe in a single game. And then I think the other aspect of it is you've got to do a good job devoting resources to stopping Travis Kelce, and you can't give up the huge play to Tyreek Hill. And that's all sounds. It's easier to say than actually do. But I think you need to at times, you need to double them at times. And so maybe sometimes you fool them on who you're doubling, because I don't think that they are the same run game that they were when they had Kareem Hunt. And that's significant for them, I believe.
Well, again, the Colts and Chiefs will kick things off. That's our first game, 4:35 on Saturday. The Chiefs, of course, playing at Arrowhead. The AFC playoffs loaded with the best talent at quarterback. Are you on the Andrew Luck train or riding high with Pat Mahomes? We'll tell you which quarterback we trust the most. Also, long snappers might not have the most interesting position on the field, but John Dornbos has a story for the ages.
Check it out, man. And he whips up his shorts all the way to his boys. And boom, full inner thigh coverage of a tattoo of me. This thing came to mind. I looked at him and I go, you are awesome.
NFL Live is presented by KFC's $3 Famous Bowl. Try it spicy. Ask if you want. Presented by KFC.
It was the dominant defense that set the tone for the Cowboys, and that left Dak Prescott and company to do just enough to edge the Seattle Seahawks. Dallas lives to play another day. They now head west for a date with the Los Angeles Rams. And for more on this, we will say hello to our Cowboys reporter, Todd Archer. Todd, Dak and the Cowboys head into this matchup as an underdog, but tell us why this trip to the Coliseum isn't too big a moment for the Cowboys quarterback.
Well, Wendy, his first trip to the LA Coliseum, a 2016 preseason game, that was the first time we really got a read on what he could be. If you remember when training camp opened, he was the number 3 quarterback. Kellen Moore was the backup, broke his leg the first week of training camp. As a veteran, Romo wasn't going to play in that first preseason game, so the job fell to Prescott. He goes out there, 10 of 12 passes, two touchdowns in his work. And all of a sudden the Cowboys think, hey, maybe we got something here. Well, a couple weeks later, Romo breaks his back. He takes the job full time, and we've known what he's been since that point. I spoke to Travis Frederick in the locker room on Monday about that game, and he said, when Prescott came in the huddle, he was remarkable poise, composure, and really had felt like this was the moment, okay, we're going to be fine if we need this guy. Well, he's been fine ever since, and now he's got the Cowboys in the divisional round for the second time in 3 years, and he hopes his next trip to the Coliseum is as good as his first trip.
Understandably so. Thank you so much. Speaking of the next level, Dwayne Haskins is headed for the NFL. The one and only Mel Kiper Jr. joins us next. He'll talk about potential landing spots for Haskins, and his answer may surprise you.